Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a brand new mock draft of the 2025 NBA prospects, and I've been doing a lot of mock drafts recently. We have guys like Cooper Flagg, Casper Yakucionis, Dylan Harper, who's really making a big number one selection case. We also have Ace Bailey, Egor Demin, Khaman Maluach. There's going to be a lot of talent into this draft, so welcome to At the Buzzer Sports, brought to you by John Drummond. Today we're going to be doing a 2025 NBA mock draft. Stay tuned. Let's get started. I don't know if you guys heard my voice crack a little bit. Still a little sick. I don't know if you guys heard that. Maybe you didn't, and maybe I'm just rambling, but got to get content out. You know what I'm saying? I am off work tomorrow, so got to push out content. Currently, the time is 10:47. I usually show you guys the time when it's late night, and I'm just, putting some content together. And we got a lottery mock draft. And, I love doing these things. And I love giving my opinion, and Cooper Flagg right now is starting to have his number one pick stock fall just a little bit, at least to some of the people on Twitter, some of the people on YouTube, and things like that. I don't necessarily think his number one stock is falling. I still think he's slightly comfortable at the number one pick, but I think people are starting to realize that generational is not something that just needs to get thrown around that we have been doing as of recently. And Cooper Flagg is still obviously a phenomenal prospect, with the defense, the intensity, the offensive game that he does not get the credit for. He does play very well and does look like he's going to be the number one pick as of right now. But when we throw the word generational around, we see players like Victor Wembanyama and LeBron James. I don't think Cooper Flagg is at that level as a prospect. Even Zion Williamson, I don't think Cooper Flagg is at that level as a prospect. But one thing I do think that isn't getting considered when we look at these players and we say Dylan Harper should go number one, I think we're starting to really lose the value of the floor of these prospects, because when we look at Dylan Harper and we look at Cooper Flagg, I think Cooper Flagg's floor may be a little bit higher than Dylan Harper's, because when we look at a guard who struggles on defense, isn't the best playmaker, I would argue that Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper are probably the same level of playmaker. And then we look at a guy who settles on getting to the free throw line a lot, which is a good thing. Don't get me wrong, but I think he puts a little bit too much of his game of getting to the rim. As of the last time I checked the stats, he was taking about 8 free throws a game. I think Dylan Harper is a phenomenal player, but I do think Cooper Flagg's floor is higher, to where if both of these guys don't pan out, I still think Cooper Flagg is going to be the better player if both of these guys just hit their absolute floor. I think at Cooper Flagg's floor, you may have a really good defensive player who just may not be able to figure it out on offense, but can still be a solid roller, be a guy that attacks closeouts pretty well and can make the right decision, to where Dylan Harper, you can have a guy who can't read the floor at his absolute floor, maybe can't read the floor, can't make those timely decisions as fast, maybe an inconsistent shooter, and maybe bad around the rim, because there's times where he's just not that good around the rim. But I still think he's a great finisher, but there are times where he can be a little wild or off balance when he does get to the rim. So I think that is the main part that we are missing with the number one pick as of right now. If both of these guys end up becoming complete busts, that means if both of these guys, Dylan Harper and Cooper Flagg, become the lowest player that you would expect them to coming into whatever team drafts them, I think Cooper Flagg has the intangibles and the frame, the size to be the better player, because you can use that height, you can use that length to enhance your touch around the rim, and he still has the intangibles of being a very good defensive player. That would make me think, okay, at his floor, he can still be above average at something, and with Dylan Harper at his absolute floor, I don't see him being an above average player at anything as of right now. So if you guys understand what I'm saying, I think that's what takes the cake for Cooper Flagg. I think Cooper Flagg's floor is a lot higher. I think at Cooper Flagg's absolute floor, I think he will be a solid to above average NBA defensive player. So with that being said, I think Cooper Flagg still is the number one pick in the draft. Cooper Flagg does a lot of things amazingly defensively, to where he can just get to the rim relentlessly, finish around the rim. And a lot of people are saying we don't see that number one aspect. Maybe he's just not the number one aspect. Maybe he's not the number one offensively, but maybe this is a guy that can be your best player. And I put out a video months ago that's saying Cooper Flagg reminds me a lot of a young Kevin Garnett. He does. He does. Kevin Garnett was never a guy that could be your number one offensively on a championship team. He just wasn't. But he was a guy that could be your best player on a championship team because of the intensity and the way that's going to really trickle down to the players next to him. He's like, okay, Cooper Flagg is busting his ass playing and play out defensively. Why shouldn't I do that? Like, you think I'm finna let this 18-year-old who can't even buy a beer come in here and play harder than me defensively? Hell nah. The NBA players have pride. You know, I think that's something that's going to trickle down to whatever team he goes to, whether it's the Wizards, whether it's the Nets, whether it's the Jazz, whether it's the Raptors. That's going to trickle down. And I think that's extremely valuable. And I also think he does a lot of things well offensively. Great rebounder. Great rebounder. He's averaging 9 a game. I don't think this is as updated as I would like, but great rebounder. This is a guy who's going to be able to come in and defend, block shots, and rebound. Three things that are extremely valuable. And then you add on to the fact that he has a decent mid-range shot. He's willing to take those, and that's going to be a threat when he is a pick-and-pop candidate, and that leads to attacking closeouts, and that also leads to making better decisions once you have the defense collapsed. So he's going to be able to translate to the NBA, I believe so. So he's going to go number 1 to the Washington Wizards. Up next, we have Dylan Harper. And with the recent news of the Pelicans being able to, or not being able to, or willing to have a fire sale on Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, and DeJounte Murray, we don't necessarily know when this is going to happen. I think Zion Williamson, even being an injury-prone player, I definitely think that a lot of teams are going to be willing to take the risk, especially a team that we may not have many years left with this contending roster or with this playoff roster, and we have to bring in a guy who may be cheap right now because he's hurt. He's been hurt consistently. I think teams like the Warriors, Lakers, Clippers, Miami Heat, they may be willing to take a bargain on Zion Williamson. I also think there's a market for CJ McCollum, just a guy who's been quietly one of the best shooters in the league. Last season, he shot 43% from 3 on 8 attempts. I don't know his numbers off the top of my head this season. I think teams like the Magic would love to have CJ McCollum. Teams like the Minnesota Timberwolves would love to have CJ McCollum. Now that those players are out the way, and Herb Jones is a guy who may be getting traded, but you never know. If you are in a world where you do land the number 2 pick and you're like, okay, we got Dylan Harper, we got a 6'6" guard who's so crafty around the rim, so crafty in the mid-range, loves to get to the free throw line. Why not pair him next to an all-NBA caliber defender who can hit threes occasionally, who can be league average from 3? Why not do that? Why not have Herb Jones take the initial assignment on the best perimeter player night in and night out, and have Dylan Harper, which he's shown you already, carry a load offensively? So I think Dylan Harper's a great player. I think the shooting has been a little bit inconsistent, and we're probably going to see that between his first and second season in the NBA. But there's a building block here. There's something where you could say that at his ceiling he can be an all-NBA player. You know, I've seen a lot of people say Jalen Brunson, and I kind of agree with it. And it's not just because they're both left-handed. You know, I think there's a relentless nature to Dylan Harper's game to where he's going to get to his spot. He's very crafty around the rim, whether it's finishing around taller players, bigger defenders. There's angles that he gets to the basket at and ways he finishes around the rim that just really leave me shocked, you know, because we don't see that a lot from a lot of younger talents, and the way he gets to the rim is just phenomenal. So once again, we're going to have Dylan Harper go to the New Orleans Pelicans here, and I'm not going to think twice about it. Up next, I think the Utah Jazz are up, and Ace Bailey is somebody I considered for the Utah Jazz. I think Egor Demin is probably the better move because as of right now, I think Egor Demin is the better. I wouldn't say he's the better off-ball player. I think he's the better on-ball playmaker. I definitely think he's up there as a shooter with Ace Bailey. He has struggled a bit lately playing better competition, but I think Egor Demin provides something to this offense to where him and Lauri Markkanen could be really hard to guard. Even though Lauri Markkanen might be somebody who's out the door this offseason, I think Egor Demin is a perfect building block in Utah, and I think with the BYU connection, I think Egor Demin is the guy. At number 4, I have the Toronto Raptors going to get Ace Bailey. Now, a lot of people have been down on Ace Bailey. They've been down on Ace Bailey, and I just want to say real fast, I think there is a world where 5 to 7 years from now we look back and say, Ace Bailey is the best scorer from this draft. And when you look at it, some of the things that are hard to get from prospects are there: the off-ball play, the tough shot making, the length, the athleticism, the transition play, to where we look at Ace Bailey's game and say, I wish you could create more for yourself. I wish you could create more for others. And that's a valid critique. But I also think that those are things that can be taught. The things he has, you cannot teach. You cannot teach 6'9", extremely athletic, extremely quick, jumps really high, has the potential to be a really good rebounder in the NBA, just puts on a little bit more size, to where once you build that downhill ability in the half court, this is going to be a fantastic offensive player. Fantastic. And I see people comparing him to Michael Porter Jr., Jabari Smith. I get that with the lack of creative or creation for himself, and the lack of half court offense that he just does not provide at the moment. I can understand that. But I think there's a world, I truly believe there is a world where I look up and he's the best scorer from this draft. You know, I think Tre Johnson has a case for it. I also think Casper Yakucionis has a small case. But when I look at somebody who I say, if I were to put money on who may be the best scorer in the draft, I'm going to put a lot of money on Dylan Harper. But I'm going to throw $10 on Ace Bailey. I'm going to throw $20 on Ace Bailey, you know, because once again, he has the things that you just cannot teach. The half court creation, the floor awareness, the floor vision, the decision making, that can be taught. But 6'9", extremely athletic, that can't be taught. You know, the wingspan can't be taught. The vertical can't be taught. So once again, I think Ace Bailey is still a phenomenal prospect. See, people are saying, oh, the Ace Bailey isn't moving me. Okay, I'm telling you, and I'm going to save this clip, man. I'm going to save this clip. I'm telling you, I'm saving this clip. At number, what number is this? This is number 5. I'm going to have the Charlotte Hornets take VJ Edgecombe. LaMelo Ball, he's been having a career year. Brandon Miller is also getting better by the moment. And with the transition play that LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller provide, now you're bringing in VJ Edgecombe, who's phenomenal in transition defensively and offensively, and he's a high flyer. He's a lob catcher. This is a guy who dives on the floor for loose balls, can pick up the best guard night in and night out. He's a little shorter, you know, don't get me wrong, but now you pair him up with a very tall guard in LaMelo Ball. The shooting is a problem for me. The shooting has been very inconsistent, but I think there are ways where he can make himself be felt in the half-court offense, whether it's cutting to the basket. And defensively, he's really good with his hands. He's very athletic. He's a great rebounder, great offensive rebounder, and it's gonna help playing next to Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball when they're shooting 24 threes combined. So I think VJ Edgecombe is the pick here. Now, at number 6, I have the Portland Trail Blazers taking Casper Yakucionis. Now, once again, I've heard the fact that the Portland Trail Blazers have a lot of guards. And I understand that. You have Anthony Simons, Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot Henderson. But to be completely honest, I think this draft is going to open up Scoot Henderson's eyes, because I think Portland is going to have a top 7 pick. And I think there are a lot of guards in this draft that can be taken within the top 6. You have Egor Demin, you have Dylan Harper, you have Casper Yakucionis, you have Tre Johnson, you have VJ Edgecombe. You also have Nolan Traore, who's fallen in this draft, and honestly, he fell out of the lottery for me. So you're not going to be able to see him in this video, but there is a world where Nolan Traore does figure it out, and he does start making his shots, and his handle just gets a little tighter, you know. And Scoot Henderson could see something where there's a point guard being taken in the top 6 for the Portland Trail Blazers, or there's a combo guard like Casper Yakucionis who could be getting molded as a point guard. And it's going to be ugly. You know, I don't think Casper Yakucionis is 100% ready to be a lead guard in the NBA, but the off-ball play, the on-ball play, the pick-and-roll creation, I think that's going to be really good with Donovan Kling and how good of a screener he is. I think Casper Yakucionis can work next to Shaedon Sharpe. Now, you are going to need some perimeter defense next to those two guys, but The shooting has been there. The ball creation. Sometimes I do feel like he dribbles himself into trouble. Sometimes I feel like he does over dribble, or it takes him a little too long to make a decision. That's why he's holding on to the ball so long. But those things can be edged out once again. So I have Casper Yakucionis going number 6 to the Portland Trailblazers. So at number 7, the Oklahoma City Thunder are here because the Philadelphia 76ers are deciding to win games, and they have a top 6 protected pick. So if they fall to 7, it's OKC's pick. The rich get richer, and they're going to be taking Khaman Maluach here. Taking another center, getting some more size, because we saw last night against the Milwaukee Bucks, if Chet Holmgren or Isaiah Hartenstein goes down, this team's in a lot of trouble. And I know they won a lot of games without either one of them, because the perimeter defense for the Oklahoma City Thunder is almost second to none. So I don't hate not going with a center here. But Khaman Maluach, this is a guy who has a lot of upside, somebody who can sit behind Isaiah Hartenstein and maybe model after his game, somebody who may not be able to shoot the three consistently, but can work in the in-between game with his floaters and with his decision-making and being a great dribble handoff type of player, blocking shots, being a strong body down there. And I think he could really learn for a year or two. And then next thing you know, 2-3 years down the line, Khaman Maluach is a 6th Man of the Year candidate. He may not be a 6th Man of the Year candidate to the NBA, because the points per game may not ever be there, but he will be a 6th Man candidate of the year player type for me, because I value over points per game. But next up, we got the Brooklyn Nets, and they are going to be taking my boy Tre Johnson. Tre Johnson, this is probably the biggest. He probably has the biggest star upside out of everyone else that's here. Liam McNeeley, Asa Newell, Kon Knueppel, Ben Saraf, Collin Murray-Boyles. All these guys are great players. I don't think they have the scoring upside that Tre Johnson has. He's been electric from the three-point line. He's been great in the in-between game. He's shown some post play that I've really liked. And just being a 3-level scorer. He's 6'6" at the 2-guard position. I've been really impressed with his game. Now, a lot of it has been just scoring. I would love to see him play make just a little bit more. I would love to see him rebound just a little bit more. But this is probably the best upside that the Brooklyn Nets can get if they were to stay at number 8, because Lord knows we have a fire sale going on with the Brooklyn Nets. They just traded Dennis Schroeder. I went from Dennis Smith Jr. to Dorian Finney-Smith to Dennis Smith. I did it again. Dennis Schroeder. But Dorian Finney-Smith should be out the door soon. Cam Johnson should be out the door soon. There's been talks about Cam Johnson and Nicholas Claxton as well. Ben Simmons should also be out the door soon. You're going to start fresh with Tre Johnson. He's going to put up buckets for you. I like Tre Johnson here. Up next, we have the Detroit Pistons, who just want some floor spacing, and I think Liam McNeeley is that guy. He also shows some potential as being a good driver as well. He does drive to the rim very well. Now, something that does concern me with his driving to the rim is he doesn't really have a lot of fluidity with his dribble. When he does go to the rim, it's really just like a one dribble pound when he is driving. And that is a little concerning how that could get pickpocketed in lanes, especially because the Detroit Pistons don't have a lot of spacing. He's kind of going to be the spacer if he does start for this team. So there's going to be a lot of concerns with his downhill ability and the fluidity of his dribble, like I just said. And if he's on the Detroit Pistons with the spacing and how bad he is, if he does try to drive to the rim, there could be a lot of defenders that can poke at the ball. So that's something that he may have to get better at, especially in this type of situation. But the 3-point shot is there. I think he's shooting around 40% on 4 attempts a game. I think that's going to shoot up to maybe 5 or 6 in the NBA, especially how much 3-pointers have been prioritized. And I think Liam McNeeley is the guy. He's 6'8". That's why I took him over Kon Knueppel. I think he's more of a staple as a driver. And I don't think he's a better 3-point shooter, but I think the length and the team defense that he may be able to provide may be a little better than Kon Knueppel's. So Liam McNeeley is going to go number 9 to the Detroit Pistons. So I think that's a good pick. At number 10, I have the Chicago Bulls taking Asa Newell. This is a guy who's really athletic, can run transition very well. He's also a very good play finisher, and he's a solid defender for his size. Don't necessarily know if he is a center, though. It does say power forward here, which is good. But there could be some minutes where he does play the center. I've seen him stretch out to the 3-point line a little bit. Hasn't been the most efficient, but he is a solid offensive rebounder. He's a solid shot blocker. I've seen the signs of him playing defense out on the perimeter, so that's been good as well. So there is upside with Asa Newell, and if the Bulls stay at number 10 and Khaman Maluach is not on the board, I think Asa Newell would be the pick here, especially if they trade Vucevic. So I think that's the pick here. For the Kings, I'm going to take Kon Knueppel here. I think Kon Knueppel is the guy that's going to really step into Kevin Huerter's role, because we know Keegan Murray and Kevin Huerter just have not been making their threes as of lately. Kon Knueppel is a guy who I see taking 8 to 9 3-pointers out of the gate, because he's so fluid off ball. He has such a quick release. And that's the difference between him and Liam McNeeley. I think he's going to be able to get more threes up because his release time is just a little quicker than Liam McNeeley's. And I think Liam McNeeley, his three-point shot and his fluidity of his jump shot, period, may lead him away from taking these shots, because it's going to be a little slower. Defenders are going to be able to put a hand up quicker. With Kon Knueppel, I don't think that's the problem. I think he does have a quick release to where he's probably going to get off an extra 3 or 2 a game, because his jump shot is extremely quick and he's really good off ball. And I would love to see him play next to De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. I think that would be really fun as well. And with the 3-point shooting struggles of the Sacramento Kings, especially from their guys who are supposed to be 3-point shooters, with Kevin Huerter and Keegan Murray both shooting under 35% from 3 as the last time I checked. I don't know if that is up to date as of right now, but the last time I checked, they were both under 35%. I think Kon Knueppel can be like a 34-35% a game type of guy on 8 to 9 3-pointers a game, which is really good as a rookie. So that's going to progress the more we go along, but I think he's going to be set up really well next to Domantas and De'Aaron Fox. So I love this pick for the Sacramento Kings. He could probably step in as soon as possible with them. Up next for the San Antonio Spurs at the 12th pick, we have them taking Collin Murray-Boyles. And this is somebody who is just extremely physical, extremely lengthy and strong too. And he's a great rebounder, and he's really good on the defensive end. I think right now he is listed as a power forward. I think if they tighten up his handle a little bit, he could be a small forward. And I'm not asking for anything crazy, just being able to put the ball on the floor and attack closeouts and be a good decision maker, which he's shown at the collegiate level. He's been a really good rebounder, and with his strength and with his size, you think that would translate to the NBA pretty well. His hands are really good as well. He can also be a really good post defender against some of these fours, like a Julius Randle, like a Aaron Gordon. So I think there are some signs you can look at with Collin Murray-Boyles, and I think he has played really well to keep his draft stock where it is. I always thought this guy would be a late lottery to maybe just outside the lottery type of guy, and that's where I have him right now at number 12. This is late lottery. So the Spurs just keep building on their defensive prowess. If I said that word correctly, or if I used that word correctly, I don't know if I necessarily did, but let's keep moving. Collin Murray-Boyles is a San Antonio Spur, and now their defense just gets better and better. He's averaging 10 rebounds at the time of these stats were taken. They may be outdated. Who really knows what they do at Fanspo? Love your website, Fanspo. You guys should put me in those mock draft things that you guys do when you select the mock draft, because I do mock drafts for you guys all the time. Thank you. Thank you. Need that, Fanspo. Need that. You know what I'm saying? We just hit 1,000 subscribers. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? We getting there. We getting there. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, for the Atlanta Hawks, I have them taking Derek Queen. Their center rotation has not been the best as of late. You would have to think that Clint Capella will not be re-signing with the Atlanta Hawks. Onyeka Okongwu will probably stay. But I think Derek Queen provides finishing around the rim, some rebounding, and I think he can play really well with Trae Young. You know, Trae Young really lifts up the floor of these centers in the NBA. He's a little small, so I don't know if he's going to be the best defender as a rim protector in the NBA, and I don't necessarily know how good he will be as a rebounder. But once again, if there's anybody who can lift up a center who has potential, it's Trae Young. And now for the last pick of the 2025 NBA mock draft, this edition of the mock draft, where we're just going to be doing the lottery, because to be completely honest, the prospects so far are just not that updated. I see Jeremiah Fears isn't here. What's his name? Labaron Philon? I don't know how to say it, but he's a little deep in here. Here he is right here. There's just not the most prospects to do a full 30 pick draft. You know, there's some that I think it just needs to be updated a little more. So throughout the season, I'm going to be gradually getting more and more prospects. Somebody in the comments on my last mock draft said I can make the big board, which is something I'm really going to look into and probably do on my downtime, so I can start doing 2-round mock drafts, because Lord knows I'm ready for it. Lord knows I'm ready for it. For the people who did not watch me back when I had like 200 subs around the 2024 NBA draft, around that draft process where I was doing mock drafts literally almost every other day because the offseason had just started and we had nothing to talk about. So yeah, we do mock drafts pretty heavy on this channel, especially for a guy like me. You know, I have a lot of things to do throughout the day, so something I can do is just sit down and do a mock draft. Anyway, I'm rambling. With the 14th pick in the draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder will be taking Ben Saraf, a 6'6" guard who can play make, who can work out of the pick and roll. He does have a slow jumper, but the mid-range game has been pretty solid. And I think this is somebody who can once again learn from guys on the Thunder in SGA and Jalen Williams and Lou Dort. You know, they're going to keep stacking up young talent, whether it's being traded or just being a role player that they groom into, or maybe even being an all-star, who knows. But Ben Saraf is going to be the 14th pick here. A few guys that I want to talk about that I was supposed to talk about before I clicked on so I can look at them. Labaron Phelan, a guy I brought up just recently a couple minutes ago. I think he's going to be a great player to pick outside of this lottery. I think he's a Jalen Suggs-esque type of player has a relentless game getting to the rim and has shown some on-ball defensive chops. Nolan Traore is a guy who I can see making his way back into the lottery, but the shooting struggles have been real. The defensive struggles have been real. And the finishing around the rim is a little inconsistent as well, but his rim pressure is extremely, extremely valued, and I think that is the best part about his game. And he has shown some solid abilities of making decisions out of that. Who else is a couple of? Jeremiah Fears, who hasn't been on here. He's been electric as a scorer. Boogie Fland is a guy that I don't see a lot of players or a lot of teams, like let's say from 11 to 14, which I think would be his range if he does make his way into the lottery. I don't see a lot of these teams willing to pick up a guy like Boogie Fland, who, from what I've seen, has not had the biggest urge to be an off-ball player. He is a phenomenal on-ball creator, on-ball scorer, and we've seen some type of effort defensively that gets me intrigued a lot. But the off-ball play, which he would have to be in an OKC situation or an Atlanta situation or maybe even a San Antonio situation or a Sacramento Kings situation, I don't think that's intriguing enough for them to kind of skip on a Kon Knueppel, which is the Sacramento Kings really need. Collin Murray-Boyles, who the Spurs could use. A Ben Saraf, who may have more progressive attributes for the Thunder than Boogie Fland would. So this is my lottery. We're going to have another mock draft next week if you want me to read it off. The Washington Wizards will be taking Cooper Flagg. The New Orleans Pelicans will be taking Dylan Harper. The Utah Jazz will be taking Egor Demin. The Raptors will be taking Ace Bailey. The Hornets will be taking VJ Edgecombe. The Blazers will be taking Casper Yakucionis. The Thunder will be taking Khaman Maluach. The Nets will be taking Tre Johnson. The Pistons will be taking Liam McNeeley. The Bulls will be taking Asa Newell. The Kings will be taking Kon Knueppel. The Spurs will be taking Collin Murray-Boyles. The Hawks will be taking Derek Queen. And the Thunder will be taking Ben Saraf. And if you guys like this type of content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I do mock drafts every single week, once a week, and I'm out. Peace.